Hey, what's going on everybody? Jake Andrews here. Welcome back to my channel. Blues and rock guitar lessons coming at you. Today we are looking at this classic James Brown song, Lickin' Stick. Lickin' Stick, Lickin' Stick. This has long been one of my favorite James Brown songs ever since I was a kid. My father had the original 45 and I used to listen to that thing over and over when I was a little kid trying to pick out the guitar and bass line on it. And it was originally released as Lickin' Stick Part 1 and Part 2, the A and B side of a 45. It came out in 1968 on King Records, the legendary label out of Cincinnati that James Brown recorded on. Countless other legendary R&B and soul artists recorded on King Records in the 60s. So look up the history of King Records, it's really fascinating. So as I mentioned, the song was recorded and released as a single in 1968. It later was put on the full album, Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud. And the song included James Brown on lead vocal, Bobby Byrd on organ and backup vocals, Maceo Parker on tenor sax, Pee Wee Ellis on alto sax, Jabo Starks on drums, and the legendary Jimmy Nolan on guitar, and also Tim Drummond on bass. Now, I would like to say a few things. First of all, Jimmy Nolan was the legendary guitarist that really helped innovate James Brown's sound in the 60s. Jimmy Nolan had a full career before James Brown, so look up on YouTube some of his early instrumental stuff, his stuff from the late 50s. But when he joined James Brown's group, he innovated that chicken scratch rhythm guitar playing, which became the foundation for funk guitar playing. So Jimmy Nolan's contribution to funk guitar cannot be overestimated. And he is all about that ninth chord I'm going to be showing you. So that's Jimmy Nolan playing on this track, and Tim Drummond is the bassist, and he was the one who wrote the lick, the bass lick that really drives the song. Now, Tim Drummond is the one melanin challenged guy in the group back then, which was pretty fantastic for him to be playing with James Brown at the time. There's a really funny story I'd like to share. Later, after this, in the early 70s, Tim Drummond joined the group Mother Earth that my father played guitar in. And he and Drummond became good friends, played on the road with him for a year or two. Later, after that, he went on and played with Neil Young, Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, J.J. Cale, B.B. King, countless other big artists he recorded and played with. But while he was playing with James Brown in the late 60s, they did a big tour in Africa. It was kind of unprecedented for American artists to start going over and touring in Africa, especially African American bands. But this was a big tour. James Brown, Tim Drummond was on bass. And the story goes that at the end of the tour, I guess maybe the last show of the tour, the band was supposed to be leaving the next day, flying back to New York, JFK, and had a big show at the Apollo Theater that night. Well, Tim Drummond, or Drummond as everybody called him, had been hanging out with some witch doctors he had met on tour there. Nobody knows all the details, but apparently he kind of woke up in a daze. Who knows what he had been imbibing from the witch doctors. He woke up, he had missed the flight, band was gone, and he's stuck somewhere in Africa. I don't even know what country they were playing in. But he managed to hire his own Learjet flight back to New York, paid for it, and he got to the Apollo Theater in time for sound check. However, James Brown fired him anyway, said that's it. So that was the end of his run with James Brown. Anyways, great story, and Drummond was a great legendary bassist that I got to be around as well when I was a kid. Look him up, look up his Wikipedia and see all of the songs and artists he played with and recorded with. All right, so back to Lick and Stick. This is a very fun riff to play, a great introduction to James Brown and funk guitar playing, rhythm playing, and I've included some ideas of some simple lead licks and riffs you can play as well. Okay, so let's get into this. This is gonna be a lot of fun. All right, everybody, welcome into the lesson on Lick and Stick. Now, first things first, we are in the key of funk. No, just kidding. We're in the key of E flat. E flat right here, D sharp. That's the key we're in, and we're just on the one the entire song. That's the James Brown style, man, just droning on that root chord, you know. Not a lot of changes going on. So we're right here, and we are working around the almighty ninth chord shape like this. Okay, that's originally coming from our C chord shape, you see. If you follow the cage system, you'll see that this is originally a C chord shape. If I put my pinky down, that's a C7th shape. If I bring my fingers over here, put my pinky on the second string, that's a ninth chord as well. I use that chord a lot. But we don't want that variation. We want to take our pinky off, flatten out that ring finger, y'all. And we're strumming it from the 5th string down. That is our chord. Now you have to play around with it. You kind of have to almost lean into that ring finger. And then get just a slight arch on your middle and first finger so they'll ring out. The whole thing's kind of collapsed down, but that's the nature of this chord. So we use this chord, of course, in blues all the time, slow blues, but this is the funk chord, the James Brown chord. Now I say the James Brown chord, really his guitarist and his most well-known guitarist, Jimmy Nolan, who's playing the guitar on this track. He really innovated this style of funk rhythm guitar playing. So y'all make sure and check out Jimmy Nolan's earlier stuff before James Brown. What a cool guitar player, what a legendary player. And so that is our chord. So right now we are at E flat 9 or D sharp 9, strumming it from the 5th string down. So as I mentioned, this chord, I mean, you can play across the board on James Brown songs and funk songs with this chord shape, All right, it is all over the place. But for this song, Lick and Stick, the part that's being played is kind of breaking this chord up into pieces, which is very cool. So we're not really playing the full chord the whole time. We are breaking it up into pieces, and by that I mean these top 3 strings, the first, second, and third string. So the main part is just sliding on those 3 strings. Of course, you can bring the other fingers along, but we're only strumming the third, second, and first string. And that's our root note. All right, so the way I am playing it is 1, 2, 3, 4. So you see I'm strumming those 3 strings once, sliding and sliding back on that one pick, or that one strum rather. So we're gonna start it off. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I'm gonna come right up to the middle finger and pick that root note. Now when I said I broke up the chord, I can kind of play these pieces separately, even though they're coming from the same chord. So 2, 3, 4. And then I go back down here. I can even lift those fingers off while I do this. And I'm gonna do this. You see that? So I'm going down, up, down, and then root. All right, let's try this together. 2, 3, 4. All right, now here's our last piece. That's how I'm playing this, okay? So I'm going, the way I'm doing that is down, up, up, up. Quickly hit that root again, and then 2 downstrokes. Back to the root. All right, so. And that one root note here is pretty light. We're kind of just insinuating it. You don't even have to play it. You could leave it out. So that's how I'm playing this piece. And as you can tell, I'm kind of incorporating some of the bass notes as well to fill out the guitar part for us, okay? Especially while I'm playing it here solo for you. So I think it sounds very cool. Putting this all together, 2, 3, 4. And that's our piece. And you just got to build up the speed, and build up to where you can do that non-stop for the entire song. That is the key to James Brown guitar playing. Not that the parts are so difficult or that we're changing parts all the time. It's just keeping in time, keeping in the groove for the entire song. So that is the piece. Now a few tips are to stay somewhat light on your fingers, and we're kind of bouncing it anyways to get that choppy sound that we want. That's very common. But stay pretty light, so with these slides, you're not getting bogged down by squeezing it so hard. We want to stay pretty light. Look how quick that is. I'm just going in and back. Bada. Also notice this. Notice how I'm not moving my full hand. Okay? And this applies in general to sliding. I don't want to move my full hand. That's awkward. I have my thumb kind of stationary, and I'm just kind of opening my wrist and coming right back. That's how you want to start doing this with sliding. Whether you're sliding single notes or double stop stuff like this. All right, so that's my tip. Stay pretty light on your fingers, build up the speed. Now I'm playing a Strat, as Jimmy Nolan played as well. And you want to get that kind of fairly dry guitar sound. You don't want it overdriven. You don't want any gain on it. You don't want it too loud. I got a little reverb going. And in fact, I have it in that in-between position between the middle and back pickups there. And I get that kind of out of phase dry sound. That is a good tone for funk guitar playing. All right, so that is the rhythm piece we're using here with the 9th chord. Now, as you notice when I played it, I also went into the bass line too. The bass line is very recognizable, Tim Drummond. That bass line is built around these same notes. I can't get the low E flat note because I'm not tuned down to E flat. But the way I'm doing it is these two notes here that are part of that chord. That's the E flat, and then this is the 3rd. Now watch this. And then I'm using my pinky and coming over here to the 5th. It's just a little major arpeggio. Okay, you could also use your ring finger. And then we want to drop into this note. And that's more of a minor pentatonic notes. We have the flat 7 there. So this is really kind of a dominant 7 arpeggio. And actually playing it again, I would probably use my ring finger here because we want to drop right into this note, which is the D sharp or E flat note. Just the octave of that. So watch this again. Drop to the 3rd string, and I'm alternating picking here. Down, up, down, up. Okay. And repeat that last piece. And then back to the low root note. And then finally end it with down, up, da, da. Down, up, down, up. All right, I put it all together. You see? So really, if I was playing minor pentatonic, this would all be right here in this 4th box pattern. Here's my 3rd box. And there's my chord. All right, so that lick. Now we just gotta stay real light on our fingers and try to build up the speed like this. And just try to stay in that groove. You could always play it up here as well on the low E flat note. Same fingering, just everything's a string up. Now we're more in our 1st position box. Now the reason I like playing down here, for one thing, I'm staying close to my 9th chord. But also, as you heard me play in the intro, I added that harmony note later. I added the 2nd string here. Okay, so I went. And I added that harmony note here on the second string to create that double stop. It's really part of, like our bar chord here, E flat, D flat, or C sharp, E flat. There you go. And then, again. So that's fun to do. It sounds cool. You can kind of alternate between the single notes and adding in that double stop there. And you'll have to work with it to alternate pick and get that to ring out. All right, so that's what I was doing on the intro. Finally, on the original version, of course, it goes into a sax solo by the great Maceo Parker. Long live Maceo. And at that point, I kind of fell into just a regular ninth chord funk groove. Sharp. All of this is very common, that groove right there. It's all about keeping that wrist real loose and kind of bouncing here so I can get the notes to ring out when I want to. And also to get that muted chicken scratch sound when I want it. And you see I keep kind of going back and hitting that root note. From there, I just played a few little licks there, getting into a little funk lead guitar playing. And it's easy to start out around this area of the chord, as I showed you earlier. Here's my third box, minor, and fourth box minor. So it's easy to and then you can start to add in a couple major notes to get more of that Mixolydian sound. That's the major third right there. It's the same as if I was up here in my first box. And in fact, you saw me make my way up to this position too. I'm just grooving in my first box, second box, and I'm adding in a few of those major notes. I'm going to do another lesson video getting deeper into playing funky lead guitar playing. But for now, if you add in a few of those major notes, that's going to add a lot to your sound when you go to play some funk lead guitar. It's really a blended sound, major and minor. Other than that, it's really just the phrasing and timing and the groove, y'all. So that's something you got to work at. So those are just some quick suggestions of some lead ideas you could do. You could find your chord shape up here to groove on as well. I did this one. Get another ninth chord right here. Or that. Or like a sixth. Or some partial. All right, so there you go, and then I just made my way back to the groove. Woo! Say what? Oh yeah. And then went back to oh yeah. Just like that. And that's it, y'all. That's how it's done. Okay, my friends, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this kind of intro lesson to funk guitar playing, funk rhythm playing, the classic James Brown song, Licking Stick. Let me know what you think. Leave me some comments. Let me know some other songs you'd like to hear me do, especially in this genre, this vein, funk guitar playing, James Brown stuff. Nothing will get you better at phrasing and timing and rhythm playing than learning the whole James Brown catalog and just playing along with it. It's really not about all of the many chord changes or licks or anything like this. A lot of times, like in this song, we're just sitting on that one chord the whole time. It's really about the timing and phrasing and just staying in the pocket, in the groove, and being able to do that for 5 minutes or more straight, nonstop, without falling out of time. And if you did, James Brown is going to fine you $20 off of your pay for the night, so you better stay in time. All right, y'all, please leave the video a like and subscribe to the channel if you have not already. Hit the bell icon to get notifications from me whenever I release a new video. Now, I'd also like to mention that I have a new teaching course out called the Ultimate Freddie King Instrumentals course. This course is extremely comprehensive and is based on the most influential blues rock guitar album ever recorded, in my opinion, which is Let's Hide Away and Dance Away with Freddie King. Classic record from 1961 that was hugely influential on generations of blues and rock guitarists. It was also recorded on King Records. So check out that package, www.bluesrockguitarlessons.com. It is an extremely helpful foundation for blues and lead guitar playing. And you can watch the video all about what's included in there. All right, I will see you guys and gals in the next video lesson. Peace and love.